Good morning, channel friends.
Hello.
So today you see us surrounded by lockers. And yes, they are kindergarten lockers. Because Michelangelo's teacher, my youngest one, who attends kindergarten, asked me if there was a way to restore these old lockers. And when I hear someone ask if there's a way to restore something, I get a bit anxious, because I'm always afraid they'll end up being thrown away. Of course, they're lovely, sturdy, they've got their age. I think these lockers must be at least 40 years old. And back then, they were painted in bright colors that were suitable and in fashion at the time. In some places they're dented, in other spots. We definitely need to remove all the hardware, clean it, and polish it as much as possible. And of course, besides making them nice, neat, and matching with each other, we also need to do a job where the dents, scratches, and everything that comes off with the old paint are no longer visible. So we'll make them talk to each other, because it'll be a sequence of designs, and once they're placed side by side, of course there's a numbering system. They'll be arranged in a certain way. Once they're numbered, they'll look really nice together. Today we'll start with the first 5 lockers, and then we'll do the rest off camera, because there are really a lot of them. Let's start. If we want to do a proper job, we first need to remove the old hardware, also because they've used adhesives underneath here, so we need to clean the surface and make it nice and smooth. I've got myself a nail puller, like this, to make it easier. If you don't have one, you can easily use a screwdriver instead. Here we go. This is the situation we're dealing with now, so I'm going to grab some sandpaper and start cleaning it up. I've got a small chisel. If you have a problem like mine, you can use that chisel to remove it. Then I'll also go over it with a sander to clean the whole surface and scrape it properly. But even like this, you can already get rid of the bigger imperfections. This is the first step. We also need to remove all the screws that are here. Obviously using a screwdriver, and we'll take off all the other hardware. It's important to polish it, reassemble it, as is. The piece of furniture had just been made. Thanks, Emma, and look at this. There's a surprise. In the past it was already blue. People repainted it and didn't remove the hardware. Look here. You can see there's a blue, a slightly lighter shade, and here you can even see the orange, so someone has already changed the color. Now we're removing everything so they can start from scratch. As you well know, magic paint adheres to all surfaces. In fact, we're the only company that doesn't produce a primer. So not only am I telling you it adheres to everything, but I'm also giving you a guarantee. But here we've got a problem. This surface is full of dents, and we can't just go ahead and paint over it like that. Sure, magic paint would adhere, but we risk it peeling off. If the blue paint peels, then whatever's on top of the blue will peel off too. And secondly, it would look bad. You'd see the little holes, the grooves. I've taken my sander, connected it to my vacuum cleaner so I don't make any dust, and I'm going to purify the surface by removing what needs to be removed. Whatever comes off will be removed. I use a special sander because it both rotates and vibrates, and it has adhesive mesh sheets. Actually, Emma, could you get me a new one, please? This mesh is fantastic because, being microfiltered, it sucks up 100% of the dust, the finest particles, and you'll see that by the end of the day there won't be any dust here, so we can use it indoors at home. Make sure to do this step very thoroughly and carefully, because everything that needs to come off has to come off now. We've already done the R-bar step to remove everything. Anyway, the grease and dirt are gone. Now this is the final step before we start painting. Let's get started. project will be a bit special. We'll be adding drawings and all the rest later, but first we need to apply a base coat, a first layer. We'll start with dark sand and cover everything from here, all the way to the base area, including this part here, so also the seat. Then there will be two other colors that will blend in. How do you work on these kinds of surfaces? We'll be making great use of our new rollers. We have short, medium, and long pile. Today we're using the medium one. It works well for covering these surfaces deeply, which are a bit glossy and sanded. So it also penetrates well when there are imperfections, and the important thing is that we split the work. I use the roller, while Emma uses the pointed brush. This way, she can get nicely into the crevices, like this. So Emma will go ahead of me and do all this section from the start. And then I follow her with my trusty roller. Actually, by using this roller, we avoid a lot of problems. Once it's loaded, and of course I use pure paint, because I'm working on a fairly glossy surface, I can easily cover the whole area very quickly. The important thing is that the roller is properly loaded. You make it very smooth, very even, and that's what we are going to do. I'll apply 2 full coats, covering the entire surface. And voila, there you have it. It's important to understand that I can also do this. Sure, but if we go in with a brush first, we'll definitely do a better job. Like this. And then when we go over it with the roller, nice and full of paint, we'll definitely have a much easier time. We'll even out the surface very quickly and, of course, get better coverage without any marks. So first we go over it with the roller. We see how it turns out, but I absolutely recommend always getting into the corners properly with a pointed brush, just like we're doing now. Always remember there are 2 types of pointed brushes. There's the size 2, which is a bit smaller, and the size 4, which is slightly bigger. Look how easy and quick it is. With just one stroke, we've pretty much covered the entire background. Let me tell you one more thing. Oranges, colors like this one with a strong orange hue, are always the hardest to cover. And yet look here, what we've already done with just one coat. Now we'll carry on. Wherever I can, I'll use the roller, no problem. The nap of this roller really allows me to get deep into areas where there might be some damage. And then Emma helps me with the brush, where I can't reach, she can. We're starting with the second coat. I load the roller well and I'm using the brush again this time. That way I can get nicely into the corners. Now I'll do the sides first. And then I'll just simply continue on with the roller. Look how well it covers. The second coat is the final one, because with the second one we've completely covered the base color. We always use either pure magic paint or slightly diluted, no more than 10%, mind you. And now I'm very carefully applying the second coat all over before I just start decorating the piece of furniture with Emma to make it funny. You can use the brush to do the corners even after using the roller. It's not a problem. Obviously, the brush strokes will be visible. So if you want to get rid of them, just go over it quickly with the roller, like this. I'm applying the second coat all over, and I need to be careful. Please do take note. Remember that with 2 coats of dark sand, we achieved full coverage. We've applied the second coat of dark sand to all our cabinets. Here, we've only 3 of them for now, because we didn't want to distract you too much, with too many pieces around you. Anyway, the process we're going to do will already be visible on these 3. Emma studied it, She studied a method to make the view of all cabinets more continuous and broader, especially when they're in their proper setting. So, once placed next to each other, they'll create a landscape, a very childlike landscape, something very easy to make. So actually, if you want to do it freehand as well, copying our steps, you can. So we'll have fun with very soft mountains, with hills, then we'll add clouds, birds, and a few other things too. So today, we're actually going to show you how to decorate, how to finish, how to treat the surfaces, but also how to decorate all these cabinets to create a single panorama, a single landscape. Right. Yes. Altogether, they are like 6, 8, they are quite a lot. I think there are almost 14 cabinets, so we can't show you all of them in the video, but you'll see the whole landscape when we place them side by side. Now we're starting with another color that we're creating, just for you. Let's go. We're starting with 2 colors, grey Balm and Olivia. So, to recap, the base is dark sand. Now we're going to make a mix by combining a bit of grey Balm and Olivia, and then we'll do a final layer later using pure Olivia. Why are we doing this? Because we've come up with this intermediate color, which I'm going to use now and apply here like this, to create a transition between the shades. What does it mean? It means that if I add a drop of Olivia into the grey Balm, it makes everything much softer and well blended. Tell me, Emma, roughly how much? It wasn't a lot, was it?
No, it wasn't a lot at all.
About 2 tablespoons, right? Here I've used roughly 300 grams of grey Balm and 2 tablespoons of Olivia. Now I stir with my brush. I use the brush because it helps me mix everything well, scrape the bottom, and create a really nice, soft texture. Like this. But most importantly, while stirring with the brush, I can really tell if I like the shade. What do you think, Emma? A little more?
Maybe a drop, yes.
A little drop, but still just about a tablespoon, approximately. It needs to be a middle ground though. It has to tie the dark sand of the base to the Olivia, which we'll apply later. For the plane. Now, Emma is helping me because we're drawing the mountains freehand. And these are the things I enjoy doing the most with you, creating and decorating while taking away the fear of freehand decoration, because those who have never done art in their life, who have never studied anything artistic, they're a bit afraid of going in freehand with a brush. But actually, it's easy. Emma is starting with the smallest brush, right? You've picked a pointed brush, the largest brush in the round tip brush magic paint set, used to draw the height of the mountains. But first, remember one thing, both the mountains and the cabinets, in this case, need to follow a sequence. This is our first cabinet. Then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back here I've marked a nice number 1 with the marker. There are 2, and there are 3. Precisely because Emma will draw different heights. And when we bring them together, they connect. The mountains align. They will go up and down. Right?
Yes.
Are you starting now?
I'm starting by drawing the mountains on the backdrop, and then I'll transfer them with a straight line onto the side panel.
This step is very easy. Don't worry. Watch carefully how she does it, because it's a very, very simple technique. We can do that.
It's simply a matter of drawing a line, even if it's not too precise. So, those who don't have a very steady hand might actually find it easier.
Of course. So we go by memory and try to draw the landscape however we prefer. Obviously, she draws the lines on the backdrop first, because it's easier, and then she can step back and take a good look. That's always a bit of a trick, really. When you step back and look at what you've just done, you can definitely see where you can improve, where you can make changes, even when, like now for example, the paint is still fresh and you can easily go over it. So we have drawn a line that started from the middle, a bit higher up, then we went down and came back up again. Obviously now, on the second cabinet, Emma will continue from that height, so she'll go like this, then come back down. They basically have a mountain that connects across. Now she's connecting the mountain by drawing this sharp line, because for us it doesn't change anything. The landscape isn't altered at all by Emma's line. For us, the important thing is that when we look at them from the front, the mountain continues its design across all the cabinets. Now I'll help her, otherwise I just keep talking.
To continue the design across the various cabinets, you have 2 options. Either place them side by side and pick up the line from where it ends here to where it starts over there, Or, if you can't line them up, simply measure, like I'm doing in this case. 55. And I transfer that measurement over here. If it helps you, you can transfer it down here at the bottom too. And I start drawing my mountain design freehand and casually.
With a size 30 or 50 brush, whichever you prefer, I paint. From here, from where Emma drew the line, more or less up to here. I'm not going to do the whole seat or continue with anything else, because later on we'll be using another colour here, Olivia. So for me, it's important to paint this part now, to make sure there's good coverage, a nice texture, but above all, to have the first part of the mountain in place. If you want to make the job definitely easier, just take the roller with our new microfiber pile, and it will be much easier. As usual, use the brush only where the roller can't reach or where you want to avoid making a mess. Otherwise, just roll it on like this, and look, with a single coat you can really even everything out and colour the whole area. I really recommend it, because you absolutely end up wasting less time and less paint, and look how precise you are. With one coat, you cover a huge surface. The brush will always do the corners, and the roller covers the larger areas. One coat. Look, it all becomes perfect. Obviously, the brush is always needed to reach into the corners and hard to reach areas, to do edges and intricate finishing touches, but the roller really saves you a lot of time that you might waste by only using the brush. Look here, one stroke and we are done, all finished. Now Emma is starting with Olivia, our olive green, and she's doing the same thing we did earlier with our mix of colours to create the new hills. So we'll be drawing a second perspective, right? Darker because it's closer, so if you pay attention, this will be the last hill, but it's also the closest and the darkest. The second one is a medium shade, while the sky was done with dark sand, which is the lightest colour and at the back. This helps us to really create a sense of distance. It's a bit of a game, because it's a very simple, handy, quite improvised creation, but there are still rules to follow if you want to stick to the proper standards, especially when it comes to perspective in drawings. Now she's drawing the lines again, just like before, creating these hills. Obviously, we connect all the cabinets as we did earlier, and I use the pointed brush and the roller to paint everything else. Of course, I also paint the base, which is still in its original colour, so there'll be that orange, that light blue, that yellow. With the brush and roller, I paint everything, even the underside, which actually has a very worn metal part. Let's carry on, using the pointed brush. I go over all the edges where it would be difficult to use the roller, and then I use the roller to finish everything off. The short nap roller. Because I want a different kind of application. I go everywhere, both on this part of the mountain and on the background area. One very important thing is this. When you use the roller, it should be angled like this, but above all, it should always be well loaded with paint. Look. You gently. Let it glide over the surface. You should never press the roller down. If you do, it won't cover evenly, and more importantly, it doesn't cover properly. It leaves unsightly marks. We do the same thing here, even on the mountain. We use the roller to define the larger part of the surface, then we use the brush to do the small areas the roller can't reach. If you like, you can do those first, like I did, or you can wait and do them afterwards. One very important thing is that with some colours, like earlier with the mixed grey balm, one coat might be enough. But with some other colours, one coat isn't enough. So here we'll do everything once with brush and roller, then we'll apply a second coat. Another very important thing to always remember is that when working on large surfaces, the combination of roller and brush are the best. Whereas when working in small spaces, like here, you end up using mainly the brush, because here we'll be painting both the inner wooden part and the outer parts, including the metal sections. We'll be painting everything here. I'll also be using a very clever magic paintbrush, really smart, with a detachable handle, Molino. Using our black colour, Nuit Parisienne, and a size 12 pointed brush which, of course, we always sell at our magic paint retailers, we start creating the decoration, the landscape. Well, not really start, because the mountains are already part of the landscape. Now after the second coat of our Olivia, everything is shaped. The sky, the first mountains, and the second ones. Now we'll start painting the birds flying in the sky. It's simple and stylized, using a pointed brush. And I'll begin on the surface areas, the upper parts, whereas Emma will work on the front. Watch the movement. We're very different. I do them one way, and Emma does them another. The important thing is they resemble birds. Go for it. They are stylized drawings, so don't worry, I've placed 3 close together, because sometimes birds fly in flocks.
Let's add a sun here and there to our sky. I'm using the Soufflé. While I finish my semicircles, I'll connect it on the other side too, and over there she's making a few little clouds.
With the Soffio, my optical white, and a size 30 brush, also a bit worn, because the bristles are a little stiffer, so a brush that's a bit old, I make the cloud. I dip it just a little, only the tip, and I start making a very stylized cloud, like this. Do things from memory, like when you were little, because things made for children don't have to be perfect, and the lovely thing about clouds is that they can be made as if they were really cartoon clouds. I work the edges like this, carefully brushing in an irregular way like this. And I work on them. Et voilà! I can go over some edges again if I don't like them, emphasizing, widening, adjusting. But real clouds are made like this, imperfect and fluffy. Now we let them dry, and if, once it's dry, you still want to go over it again, go over it once more to make some areas more intense and others lighter. It becomes even more beautiful. Because, for example, here, where there's maybe the outer part, when it's dry, I can go over it again and make it a bit lighter here, maybe leave it a bit less defined, and here I go over it again. This way, I'll have even more layers. And definition, I'll carry on and make more clouds. In my tray, it's now time to add the protective coating. We'll apply 2 coats of it over all our cabinets. Satin Protective Coating, and I always recommend diluting it by at least 5% and up to 20%. I do it by eye now because I know my product well, but be careful. If you're not able to judge by eye how much to dilute, maybe weigh it out. Emma takes the appropriate brush. I take my roller. She goes ahead and starts doing all the corners with the pointed brush, just like we've done so far, everywhere the roller can't reach, and I'll follow behind her with the roller, which will be really quick. Emma, how many cabinets have we done so far?
Quite a few. I've lost count.
When you see them all lined up next to each other, it'll be a really lovely surprise. So let's move on to the final steps with the protective coat. Emma starts with the corners using the pointed brush. I'll start with my small roller. And then at some point we'll cross paths. And this way, we don't waste any time. And it's really quick to protect everything. With this method, it'll take us no time at all. Obviously, I carry on like this. And she, right after, goes over it. All the corners where my roller didn't quite reach perfectly. When using the roller, it's important not to press too hard when loading it, so make sure to have a good amount of product on the roller, and especially when you're applying it like this. You need to very gently and carefully glide over the surface. Let the roller slide very smoothly across it, because if you press down, you'll leave lots of ugly marks. But if you don't press, what happens? Whether you're applying a protective coating or you're applying color, it will automatically self-level and won't leave any marks on the surface, because by self-leveling, it spreads perfectly on the whole surface, so be gentle. And when the roller starts to feel dry and empty like this, it's time to reload it. It's almost time to reassemble the hardware and let you see how they turned out. I'm taking the steel wool. There are 2 sizes, one a bit rougher and one finer. It's up to you. Right now, I've picked the rougher one. A drop of jasmine oil, my amazing oil because it protects and brightens. It makes everything look new. I'm going to scrub them like this. This step helps you polish aluminium, steel, everything. It removes the old rust and really makes everything look perfect. I do this step on everything that's made of iron. And that was on the lockers. This one, for example, was the child's name tag, and this one was the photo holder. And then there are 2 hooks. Here there's even a bit of glue. An old piece of paper that comes off with the oil. Here's the little hook and indeed the larger one. They're solid and definitely don't need replacing. This way, they get polished, the impurities are removed, and when you put them back on, they look new. New, but with a vintage look. Here too, the little one. I'll grab a piece of paper. And I'll dry them. They are like new, super shiny. I'll do this step for all the hardware, from all the cabinets, and there are really a lot of them. Then we'll put them back on. Let's see, let's start putting all the hardware. On everything. On all the pieces of furniture, which are really so many. Of course I'm using new screws and new nails, because the old ones were rusty. 1. And 2, as you can see, they're nice and sturdy, they don't move, because even though they're old, they're really solid. The teachers did very, very well not to throw these cabinets away and buy new ones. This approach was definitely better. In a moment, we'll show you how nice it looks once we've put everything back together. Here, larger screws are more suitable. For the photo section, we'll use smaller screws, and for this part here, the top part, we'll use small nails. Each piece will be put back in its place without damaging anything. And this restyling is finished too. We're at Maurizio Farina, which is Michelangelo's school in Rivarolo, and we carried out this lovely project in agreement with the teachers. Why? Because they were unsure whether to keep them, whether to save them. They even did some math, but in the end, it's always about what's best for the children. But aside from the very high cost of new lockers, it would have been a real shame to throw them away. They're made of wood, they're nice, sturdy, and not a single one is broken. So why throw them away, just because the paint was peeling? So do you like them? Actually, we had to sand and scrape off, since the old paint was coming off in many spots. Over the years, someone applied enamel without using a primer. And with old enamels, if you didn't use cementite or a base coat, they just didn't work. This is one of the reasons why magic paint is a cutting-edge product, because, besides being natural, it has a very low percentage of VOX, so the fumes you breathe in, obviously within the minimum limits set by the European Union, are minimal, and it's also a highly adhesive product. What I always say is, pay attention to what you bring into your home, be mindful of how you do your restyling. What matters isn't just painting, but also how you do it. Right now we had fun and we didn't worry about anything. The drawings on these pieces of furniture are done a bit like a little child would do them. Right, but do you like them? Are you sure? And now what shall we paint? Let's think about it. Joking aside, suggest it to schools, suggest it to public bodies, to local councils, propose a restyling. Because it's actually one of the most beautiful, easiest, and least expensive ways there is. And above all, it doesn't cause pollution. You can find Magic Paint products only on elisahome.com and authorized retailers on magicpaint.it. You won't find them on Amazon, on the internet, or any other site. The quality is Magic Paint and Magic Paint only. Goodbye.